If Harden is okay with being the guy that we saw last night for Philly, he's efficient from the field, 4 of 8, 1 of 2 from outside. He got to the line, which is important, get people in foul trouble, and he is still good at driving. Maybe not as quick as he used to be. 8 of 10 from the free throw line. He was drawing some free throws from outside too with that obnoxious thing that he does where he like kicks his leg out whenever he shoots a three. Like he'll create contact on a 3-point shot. Refs still haven't gotten wise to it. But he had 17 points, largely due to going 8 of 10 from the free throw line. He occasionally did little things. He had 8 rebounds, almost had a triple-double last night, 2 steals. But most importantly of all, if he can set up not just Joel Embiid, who had an awesome game. Embiid looked like the MVP, both ends of the court last night. But Maxey, Harris, the way that he did, where he had multiple, I think he had 4 starters for the Sixers in double figures last night. If he can set them up, then he could probably set up the young Rockets on this team. So I might even go further than looking the other way when it comes to a James Harden return. Say he's able to do that again in a closeout game. But this is where we all have the questions because we have been there and done that with Harden. But if he has in a 7 or a 6 game series 4 good games, I think even the biggest James Harden haters, myself included, because I'm the champion of that cult. Although we're not a cult. We don't do any religious like blood sacrifices or anything like that. But as the person who was off on Team Harden before it was even cool to do it, I wouldn't be able to say no and be rational in doing it. It would be personal. So we'll see what he's able to do tomorrow night. This series is a win-win for the Rockets, though, no matter what. Because, okay, maybe the Sixers win this series and they decide we're going to run the whole thing back. We're going to bring James Harden back. Harden thinks to himself, I can't leave after I make it all the way to the NBA Finals. I've never won a title before. Maybe he thinks to himself, okay, I can stick around here. We'll see. Again, it's 2 games left, potentially. I don't think Boston's dead, but I don't feel good about their chances either. But if Boston loses, this could be a win for the Rockets, and you've heard me touch on this before. Ime Udoka, the head coach of the Houston Rockets, and Jaylen Brown work together in Boston. I think that is a potential draw for Jaylen to maybe try and force his way to his team like Houston for some sort of assets. I don't want the Celtics to trade Jaylen Brown, but I don't know that Jaylen Brown wants to be there. Let's play a couple of clips of audio from Jaylen Brown. After game 4, where Jaylen Brown, one of the Celtics' 2 best players, was barely involved down the stretch, he said this.
I guess I got to demand the ball a little bit more. I thought good things happened when I had it in my hands, but I thought our offense was okay. I thought we chipped away, we made big time shots, we got great looks all game long, and we just came up short in the end.
Does that sound like a guy who's happy with his team? Not to me, and I don't blame him, because there are long stretches where guys like Marcus Smart think they're way better than they are offensively for Boston, and other stretches too, I would say specifically at the beginning of games, where the Celtics are clearly trying to feed Jason Tatum to get him going. In the last 2 games, he's been bleeping terrible to open things up. Here's Jaylen Brown after last night's game, the Celtics blowout loss, just talking about what this team might need to do to turn things around on the offensive end.
Definitely get more organized, maintain our spacing. I feel like we got, kind of the same looks over and over again. We got a lot of open looks, and we didn't make shots tonight. But I think that we can be better, and I think that we will be better.
He's frustrated with something there. Is it the coaching by Joe Mazzulla? Is it his teammates? Obviously, they've lost 2 games in a row, so that might be part of the reason that he sounds like that. But that does not sound like somebody who feels he's a reason for these issues, for these struggles. That sounds like a guy who is politely distancing himself. And if that's the case, say Philadelphia wins this series and James Harden decides, I want to stay with Philly, well, the Rockets could potentially try to get Jaylen Brown here, who's, I think, one of the 15 best players in the league. And say the Celtics rally and win, and everyone in Philadelphia is calling for Doc Rivers' head and to get rid of James Harden. Well, guess what? He might be available for the Houston Rockets. So I think that the way that this series goes, win-win. Watch it however you want. I know how I want it to go. As a fan, I would like to see the Celtics obviously advance because I like them. And I want Jaylen Brown to stay in Boston. But as someone who works here, I think I'm supposed to root for, and I think as someone who's working here, I should be rooting for James Harden and the Sixers to win because I should be rooting for Harden to stay in Philadelphia, even though it might be able to work with these younger players. I'm being more and more convinced as the series goes along because I want Jaylen Brown to be here. I think Jaylen Brown would be an outstanding foundational piece for this team, for whoever they would theoretically bring in. And I think that's a guy that wants to go and do his own thing, maybe do his own solo act, because I think with Jason Tatum on the same team as him, he gets forgotten way too often. He's too good of a player to be forgotten completely on the court. I hope that Harden's become more mature over the last couple of years. And I could understand how he would be just given how disastrous things went in Brooklyn, seeing Kyrie Irving. I think he has some regrets about the way that he forced his way out of town in Houston. This is not me saying that he can make up for him by returning. I will still be disgusted by the way that he did it. So he goes to Philadelphia, but it does seem like he is very well liked in that locker room. And this is a very small snippet, but if you saw when Embiid won the MVP, did you notice who was the first person over to Embiid to give him a massive bear hug? It was Harden. Again, small thing to make a big deal out of, but maybe it's different. I think that the large reason that this rumor has continued is just because the Fertittas love James Harden. And I think Harden would love to return. It's the family things. It's the familiarity. And I think he also knows that he's going to be able to do things his way here. But there would need to be an expectation of, you're taking these guys under your wing, and it's not all about having fun. And you know what? As you get older, maybe you do it a little bit less. I guess I'm sort of trying to explain it for the Rockets here. I don't want it to happen. I want everyone to be clear on that. I do not want Harden back here. Sean's like moving side to side. No, but I also can understand as this series continues, I can understand how it theoretically could work. I can understand how you can talk yourself into it. Though what he did last night, 17 points, he almost had a triple-double. He had eight boards. He had 2 steals, so he was like kind of active on the defensive end. He had 10 assists. Some of those assists were beautiful. He got to the free throw line 10 times. That's what you want him to do if he were on a team with a bunch of young players, with a theoretical lottery pick, which you're hoping is going to be top 3, and specifically you hope it's going to be number 1, with Jalen Green if he's still around, with Jabari Smith Jr. if he's still around. Because I think the other thing that could go for the Rockets is if the Celtics lose this series, that maybe Jaylen Brown tries to force his way out of town, but you're going to have to give up some assets to get. You're going to have to give up some assets to go and get Jaylen Brown, where there is a way for the Sixers and Harden to divorce here, and you wouldn't have to do that.
The actual skill that James Harden has is what the Rockets need the most, is someone to organize and distribute the ball.
Right.
And run the offense that Ime Udoka is going to implement. But what he doesn't have is the fact that Jaylen Brown's like 26 years old, is much more on the timeline with the Jalen Greens, or whoever is left, because you make a good point. You will have to trade for Jaylen Brown if you want him.
Probably giving up
offseason.
Jalen Green to do it. And if you like Jalen Green, like, hey, bye. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Green will be a part of that trade.
And so, you're building around maybe this year's draft pick, maybe Sengun, Jabari, whichever, the young core that's left over after the trade. He would fit that timeline better, also has more continuity with Ime Udoka, so you're going to feel better about that. So it really is like you kind of wish that the 26-year-old was James Harden and the 34-year-old was the one that didn't really fit.
A little bit, but look, I do want to see Brown here. I really do. And I guess there's a chance that they would both be here if the Rockets really want to be aggressive. I hope that doesn't happen.
That is the pie in the sky draft day scenario.
Yeah.
of like maintain like yeah.
14% chance to Wembanyama. If they get Wembanyama, okay, bleep it. If they get Wembanyama, like no, seriously, we all should throw a party in the streets, and I'll even be like, you know what, Raphael Stone, you son of a bitch, like. Praying and
it's
Tillman
gonna be
Fertitta, you son of a bitch.
It's gonna be the end of Top Gun where you're like, you are dangerous.
Yeah, 100%.
But you can be my wingman any day.
I'd give Raphael Stone a high five for that. I would.